let's get straight into it now with my first guest. Joining me now is political journalist John Fund. John, welcome back to the program. I spoke a moment ago about the effort to clean up crime in Chicago. It seems to me that Donald Trump is turning into almost the mayor of America with his efforts to clean up crime, first in Washington, now in the Windy City. But it also seems to me it's about picking a fight with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Tell us about what he's doing here. What's your read on it?
Well, J.B. Pritzker is clearly running for president, and Donald Trump isn't happy with him or the fact that he may be the Democratic candidate. So he's trying to diminish him, which is not hard, despite J.B. Pritzker's weight. J.B. Pritzker has had a horrible governorship. Illinois is a mess. Chicago is an even worse mess. And Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, and J.B. Pritzker, the governor, are perfect punching bags for Donald Trump. Chicago is a mess. I'm not a fan of having federal enforcement sweep into a city, but threatening it has some benefits. For one thing, it focuses the attention on the horrible job the Chicago Police Department is doing, not because of its own problems, but because the mayor has too many constraints on them and doesn't back them up. So just having the debate, even if Trump doesn't intervene, is useful because it may force the mayor to actually pay attention to public safety.
Well, and does this apply then more broadly to a lot of other Democrat-run cities across the country that all have their own crime problems? I mean, I played some clips a moment ago of Chicago residents who all said, yes, please, Mr. Trump, do something, help with this issue. Have the Democrats got themselves on the wrong end of another 80-20 issue, not just in Chicago, but nationally here?
Well, the only Democratic mayor who seems to be handling it well is Muriel Bowser, who, after some initial resistance, said, we are happy to cooperate with the National Guard. And
that's in Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Yes, it's a federal city. They have ultimate jurisdiction here, and we'll work with them. I think the other Democrats around the country are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. As soon as Trump mentions, I'm paying attention to your city, they start frothing at the mouth. And it makes it appear as if they don't care about their own shortcomings in public safety. Whether that's true or not, the appearance is horrible politically because, once again, Trump has steered the Democrats down a blind cul-de-sac from which they have no exit.
Well, that's the thing, John. I mean, I've been watching Trump play this game for almost a decade now. Really, he's been on the scene for about a decade in politics. It seems like they just keep falling for the trap. But I did also show Joe Scarborough from MSNBC. He actually said, you know, the smart play here would be for Democrat mayors when Trump comes to town, say, yes, please, can we work together and diffuse this trap that Trump keeps setting up for the left on these issues?
Well, the mind is often overridden by the heart. And pure emotions here. You know, Pavlov's dog. The dog knows it probably shouldn't salivate, but it's been trained to do that, so it can't help itself.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. But, you know, also just this issue of crime seems to be a really big thing for the president here. And we saw a new move in the interdiction of drugs coming into the U.S. They conducted a strike on a Venezuelan drug boat, killing 11 on board. Here's how Marco Rubio described what happened and why they took this action.
Interdiction doesn't work because these drug cartels, what they do is they know they're going to lose, 2% of their cargo. They bake it into their economics. What will stop them is when you blow them up, when you get rid of them.
And yet, John, I've seen Democrats say, oh, my God, this is a terrible thing. You can't go blowing up drug runners.
Well, there's another aspect to this. Remember, these drug runners were from Venezuela. The Maduro administration, the dictatorship there, is certainly at odds with Donald Trump. This sends a message to Maduro. If your people are involved with the drug running, and we can prove it or strongly suspect it, they're at risk too. And in fact, we have just doubled the reward money for someone who removes you from office. So it's up to $50 million. The message here is not just to the drug runners, it's to the military advisors around Maduro. You want to make $50 million, help us overthrow Maduro, and we will richly compensate you.
Absolutely right. Hey, I want to show you, too, this footage that has just emerged of Joe Biden in Delaware. It's from apparently last weekend, but on it you can see the former president having a massive wound, a sort of a scar on his head. Now, we don't know what happened yet here to cause this, and of course we wish him the best. But this sort of thing would suggest, again, that all of that talk that Joe Biden was the fittest Joe Biden ever and could have, taken on Trump and won and served another term, well, I kind of look at this footage and I look at how he's looking in general. I kind of think they were having us on.
Well, 2 points here. First of all, the Joe Biden footage here just demonstrates if you're beyond a certain age, make sure no matter what happens that you don't fall. This is what happens when you fall. Now, a bigger story in the New York Post is that the Biden pardon attorneys and the Biden people who presided over the auto pen were unsure that the president had actually given permission for the hundreds and hundreds of people he gave clemency to. There's now email that has been revealed showing the White House in complete confusion in the last days of the Biden administration. Who's in charge? Who's on first? This shows that Joe Biden was not the captain of his own ship, at least in the last days of his presidency and probably for months before then, which of course we all suspect.
Yeah, no, we all suspect it. I want to hear a lot more about these pardons and the auto pen in the months to come because I reckon there's a lot of people who got off that shouldn't have. John, I want to ask you also here, in Australia, there's been a lot of concerns about our relationship with the United States and with the Trump White House. Our own prime minister has been accused of not being in touch enough with this White House. But apparently, overnight last night, the prime minister did speak with Donald Trump on the phone. They talked about trade, critical minerals, and economic cooperation. John, what's your read? How important is Australia? Are we on this White House's radar at the moment? We have the AUKUS subs deal, obviously, but how concerned are they about Australia just as a part of the U.S. global alliance structure?
Well, we're 8 months into the Trump presidency, and the prime minister has had 4 conversations with President Trump. That's pretty good. I believe that Australia plays a vital role in not only U.S. trade policy, but policy towards China. And of course, we have lessons to learn from Australia's handling of migration issues. Britain, by the way, should pick up on some of those. And I believe Australia is in pretty good shape. The foreign leaders can't afford the luxury of Trump derangement syndrome. They have a country to represent. They have people with vested interests. They aren't about frivolity or fads. They have to deal with who they are dealing with. And they don't have to like Donald Trump to work with him. And as long as they respect him, he will respect them back.
Well, yeah, that's a good message for our prime minister, who maybe played a little bit fast with the TDS for his own domestic base, but that's another story. Hey, before I let you go, John, too, just speaking of presidential health, there was this crazy rumor last weekend. It was the holiday-long weekend after Trump hadn't been seen for a couple of days. There were all these crazy conspiracies that the president had passed away. He was asked about this. Listen to this.
You know, I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, Tim Walz, remember him, he could have been the vice president with Kamala Harris. Well, he had this to say.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
That's pretty ghoulish and bad taste, isn't it?
Look, let's be very clear. Tim Walz is not a governor. He's a cartoon character. You remember Elmer Fudd in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons?
Yes.
That man is Elmer Fudd. And he's just as stupid and completely incoherent as Elmer Fudd was in those Looney Tunes. And in fact, Tim Walz is a Looney Tune.
Be very, very quiet, John. We're hunting wabbits. Thank you so much for your time, John Fund, as always.
Thank you.